NASA's Curiosity rover lands on Mars. But what it finds is more terrifying than anyone expected. In August of 2012, NASA's Curiosity rover touched down on the barren, red surface of Mars, its mission simple: to study the planet's geology, its atmosphere, and to gather crucial information for future human exploration. Scientists anticipated the usual fare: dusty terrain, rocky landscapes, maybe a few signs of ancient rivers or the remnants of long-gone volcanic activity. What they didn't expect was an ominous discovery that would turn the history of Mars upside down. As the rover's instruments sifted through the atmosphere, a curious anomaly emerged: traces of xenon-129, a radioactive isotope that is normally associated with nuclear explosions. This discovery was so out of place that it sent ripples of unease through the scientific community. Xenon-129 isn't something you find just floating around in the atmosphere of any planet. On Earth, it's a byproduct of nuclear bombs, an unmistakable fingerprint left behind by massive blasts of destruction. And that's when the real questions began to form. Could Mars, once thought to be a lifeless, barren wasteland, have been the victim of an ancient nuclear catastrophe? Could a once thriving civilization have been obliterated by nuclear weapons, millions of years before humanity ever appeared on the scene? Could Mars, in its distant past, have been destroyed in a war that we can't even begin to comprehend? The implications are staggering. This discovery doesn't just challenge our understanding of Mars, it forces us to reconsider the entire history of the Red Planet, and perhaps even the fate of life itself in our solar system. The explosive theory, a lost civilization and nuclear devastation. The idea that Mars was once the site of an ancient nuclear conflict might sound like science fiction, but the evidence is both compelling and deeply unsettling. Imagine for a moment, what if Mars was not always the dead planet we see today? What if, millions of years ago, it was a thriving world, teeming with life, perhaps even a civilization with the ability to build cities and culture, just like ours? Enter Dr. John Brandenburg, a former NASA physicist with decades of experience in nuclear science. He's not one to entertain wild theories, but after seeing the evidence from Curiosity's findings, he started piecing together an unsettling hypothesis. The traces of Xenon-129 were not just an oddity, they were a clear indication of nuclear warfare. Dr. Brandenburg's theory suggests that Mars didn't just suffer a natural disaster or a cosmic strike. He believes it was subjected to a nuclear holocaust, a weapon of mass destruction so powerful that it left lasting scars on the planet, not just on the surface, but deep in its atmosphere. A closer look at the evidence, the hot spots and the radiation. As Brandenburg dug deeper, more disturbing evidence emerged. The Curiosity rover had detected two unusual hot spots on the Martian surface, areas with radiation levels that were significantly higher than anywhere else on the planet. These hot spots looked eerily like nuclear fallout zones, the kind of radiation found after a nuclear bomb has exploded. But here's where it gets even stranger: there were no craters. A typical nuclear explosion on Earth leaves behind a massive crater, as seen in test sites like the Nevada desert. But on Mars, these hot spots appeared to be the result of airbursts, nuclear explosions that detonated several kilometers above the surface, much like the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. This suggested that something massive had happened on Mars, but it wasn't your typical asteroid impact or volcanic eruption. The lack of craters, combined with the intense radiation found in specific locations, painted a picture of a catastrophic, high-altitude nuclear war. Brandenburg speculated that the size of the explosions would have been colossal, possibly as large as the Empire State Building detonating several kilometers above the ground. Imagine the destruction: entire cities wiped off the map, with the radiation lingering for centuries, leaving a scarred planet in its wake. When did this happen? A terrifying timeline. If these explosions were the result of nuclear weapons, then when did they occur? Brandenburg estimates that these devastating attacks happened around 300 million years ago, long before the rise of humankind. To put that in perspective, this is long before Earth's dinosaurs walked the planet. Mars, at that time, might have looked much like Earth, oceans, lakes, and perhaps even an atmosphere capable of sustaining life. Scientists have speculated for years that Mars could have supported life in its distant past. And if Brandenburg's theory is correct, that life may have been wiped out by nuclear weapons, leaving behind nothing but a desolate, lifeless wasteland. Imagine a planet where oceans once flowed, and now only dry, barren deserts remain. A planet that had life, that had hope, that was suddenly, and violently, reduced to nothing. The Martian mystery, was Mars home to a lost civilization? The idea that Mars once harbored a sophisticated civilization is not as outlandish as it might sound. Over the years, scientists have uncovered numerous clues that suggest Mars could have once been far more than just a lifeless rock. In 1877, astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli claimed to have observed long, straight lines on the Martian surface, what he called canali, or canals, leading to speculation that these were the remnants of an intelligent society. Later, in 1976, NASA's Viking missions sent back images showing what appeared to be pyramids and a massive face carved into the surface of Mars. Even more recently, in 2016, high-resolution photos revealed what looked like the ruins of ancient cities, walled structures, lost to time and forgotten by history. These discoveries have led some scientists to entertain the idea that Mars might have once been home to a flourishing civilization. And if that civilization did exist, then it's entirely possible that they were wiped out by something catastrophic, something far beyond the reach of any natural disaster. Was it a civil war? Or a catastrophic alien attack? But here's where things get even more intriguing. If there was a civilization on Mars, it's unlikely that they would have destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons. Instead, Dr. Brandenburg theorizes that Mars was attacked by an alien race, far more technologically advanced and aggressive than anything humanity has ever encountered. Imagine the Martians, going about their daily lives, unaware of the impending doom. Then, one day, the sky suddenly flashes with light, followed by a deafening explosion. In an instant, everything they knew, their cities, their culture, their very existence, is consumed by the inferno of a nuclear war. The planet is torn asunder, leaving nothing behind but ruins and desolation. The true horror of this theory lies in the possibility that Mars was destroyed not by its own inhabitants, but by an outside force, perhaps an advanced alien civilization bent on destruction, or perhaps a race seeking to conquer and wipe out other civilizations in the galaxy. Mars today, a warning from the past today. Mars is a desolate, lifeless world, a dry, barren rock with little more than a thin, unbreathable atmosphere. The winds that sweep across the planet's surface no longer carry the sounds of life. But what if this is only the end of the story? What if Mars, once a paradise, was vibrantly alive, full of oceans, green landscapes, and even intelligent life, all obliterated in a moment of brutal, intergalactic warfare? If Brandenburg is right, then Mars stands as a stark warning, a chilling reminder of what could happen when civilizations play with forces they don't fully understand. If an alien race could destroy an entire planet, what's to stop them from targeting Earth? Jack Parsons, a scientist caught between magic and reality. And then there's the story of Jack Parsons, a brilliant but troubled scientist who had a fascination with the unknown that would eventually lead to his untimely death. Parsons was a rocket pioneer and one of the key figures behind NASA's early development of jet propulsion. But his interests didn't stop at rockets. He was also deeply involved in the occult, believing that science and magic were not separate but intertwined. In the early 1950s, Parsons worked closely with L. Ron Hubbard, the future founder of Scientology, conducting bizarre rituals and experiments in an attempt to connect with otherworldly forces. Some say that during these rituals, they succeeded in summoning strange phenomena, including a banshee, a creature of myth, which terrified everyone present. But Parsons' obsession with the occult and his reckless experiments with quantum mechanics eventually cost him everything. In 1952, he was killed in an explosion at his home in Pasadena, California. The official cause: a tragic accident. But some believe Parsons' dark experiments led him to discover something he wasn't supposed to, something that got him silenced. A dark universe of unknowns, whether it's the eerie possibility that Mars was destroyed by nuclear weapons or the mysterious death of Jack Parsons at the hands of forces beyond our understanding, both of these stories suggest something far stranger, and darker, than we could ever imagine. We are not alone in the universe. And perhaps, just perhaps, the terrifying forces that destroyed Mars are still out there, watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike.